Hey, good morning everybody. BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the Henry Ruggs conversation and the situation that took place. Start this video, of course, by saying my condolences to whom lost their lives and the families of the person who lost her life. I understand that a dog was also in the car that was hurtful as well. You know what I mean? So that's where I wanted to start off and say that. I was listening to a conversation, some guys on NBC. I'm not sure of who they are because I don't really watch the media, sports media on that side of things. I don't really kind of venture into different areas of sports other than basketball. So I was kind of just looking up Henry Ruggs, trying to find a little bit more about what was going on. Just curious about more details and everything, and came across what they were talking about. And they were, the two guys were essentially just sitting there saying that, everybody's done things as a young man that they regret, and he needs support right now. He didn't mean to do this. And I'm like, do they know the details of the story? I don't know that the details were available to them, but they were getting ratioed, more as many likes as dislikes as well, because of the fact that they just came to his defense and didn't offer his but half-hearted condolences to the family of the victims. They're more so concerned about giving him a break. And like, as a black person, it feels good to a degree to see white men come to the defense of a young black man who's made a mistake, because you don't see that too often. But in this case, I couldn't roll with that. And I'm assuming they didn't know the details of the story. I read somewhere in the comments that was recorded before the details were released, so I give that part what it deserves. But once those details were released, you can definitely understand why the Raiders felt it was most important to release him, and why most people feel like I do, to where, yeah, we can have a heart for a kid who just threw his life away, but not before we have a heart for a young 23-year-old woman who no longer has a life because of his choices. They were talking about he didn't mean to do this. No, you never mean to do nothing like that. But the analogy I come to you with is, if I show up to the pool and I'm wearing my swim shorts, I'm prepared to swim. If I hop my butt into a car and I'm drunk, a Corvette at that can go upwards of 180 miles an hour, and I hop in that thing and I push it to 156 on a surface street, then I'm prepared for something catastrophic to take place. Maybe not prepared, but I'm put in place for that. I've made decisions to create the environment of such, and that's the point. When I try to talk about some of the social issues and some of the things that I surmise and that I see that I don't like, one of the things that I like to refer to is not the subjects involved in that situation, but the environment itself, and who imagined that environment, created that environment, and enabled those activities in that environment. Well, I can't apply that logic to those things without applying that logic to these things just the same. Henry put himself in a position to create such an environment for something like that to have taken place, and I breathe before I say that, lucky that there was only one person that he killed. Because when you're going 156 miles an hour down a surface street, and your car swerves and hits a left kind of a screech, and then catapults left back into right into a car, or vice versa, I should say. If your car is going 150 miles an hour and you lose control, you become a weapon. That's basically what it is. Your car immediately becomes a bullet headed towards someone else, and that's what happened there. And he walks away with, a messed up hip and a hurt ego and a lot of fear. They weren't able to get out. And see, what I was able to find as well this morning after watching that NBC conversation was local coverage from Vegas, and they had talked to a gentleman who was on the scene immediately after what happened took place, and he was talking about, the details of what happened. He was trying to get her out. When they got over there, the fire wasn't that hot. It hadn't grown. They had gotten to a point where they could get to her. He was actually able to touch her and grab her by the shoulders. They were trying to get the door open. They were trying to get everything they could to get her out, and the flames just engulfed her right before their eyes. They couldn't get her out. You know what I mean? You hear the details, and it's like, Henry, you created that environment for something like that to have occurred. I can't sympathize with those who are sympathizing with you when I find out what occurred. Granted, it would have been wonderful if you would have got to your destination. I don't think I'm jumping on you if you show up to your destination, hop out the car drunk. I'm probably upset, but I'm not giving you this vitriol. The consequences of what took place brings about this kind of anger in the hearts of people. And as much as I speak about mental health and the importance of getting your heart, your head in order, when it comes to sympathizing with this man and applying a certain level of sensitivity to his situation, I think it's a little too late for that. I think now he needs to go sit down and take everything that comes with being guilty here. Then, when that process begins, if people want to come see him or bring forth a certain level of peace, or he does his time, he comes out, and then we start talking about rehabilitation, he has to, take it upon himself to change his ways. It's not upon me to be sensitive of him. It's upon me to be sensitive to the parents and their family and the loved ones of the people he killed with his actions, being neglectful and being selfish, and like yesterday I got on here and I said some similar things. I've been young, I've done stupid stuff, I've been in my car, I've driven too fast, albeit not drunk, but definitely too fast, sometimes in anger, and I've talked about that. It's not a good thing. You got to take responsibilities for your own action, but you also got to learn from the mistakes of the people around you, and in this case I can learn from him. We can all learn from him. But as far as us coming over here saying, oh, give him a break, oh, no. What those gentlemen sound like were drunk driver sympathizers. Individuals who to themselves like to drink and drive, and don't want to be held accountable for it. That's how they came off, to be completely honest with you. I'm listening to them, I'm like, well, you just sound like some guys who want to be able to drink and drive and not have to, deal with the consequences of it yourself if something like this were to happen with you behind the wheel. You want people to come to your support, so you're jumping to his. It's like, this is awful. Like, every part of that was awful. Even if you don't know the details of the situation. You come into his defense and not theirs. So, I don't know. That was my thing on that. And then another thing that the gentleman who was at the scene was talking about is how he felt about going to Raiders games as a Las Vegas native. And mind you, the Raiders just got there. Last year? This is the first season where they had real fans in the arena, if I'm not mistaken, because of course they had the COVID season last year. So they just got here. And now a guy's going on national television after experiencing something horribly traumatic, telling all of us that he doesn't want to go to the Raiders game. He doesn't want to go to the big black arena that they just built because of Henry Ruggs' involvement in that traumatic experience that ultimately didn't allow him to save that lady's life. It's soured his mind toward even going to events, because he knows every time he sees that, he thinks of who did what and what that was caused and how all that went down. And that's what the Raiders don't need. For those who are wondering if the Raiders should have hesitated, though I don't think it's many of them. These guys on NBC were saying they were wondering if the Raiders were being too hasty in releasing this kid. They felt like he needed support right now, and maybe there was more to the story at the time. And again, I don't think they knew the details, so I'll just leave that part alone. But it's like, this is why the Raiders jumped on top of this situation, because regardless of the details, they just got to Vegas. They're trying to win over a city. They're trying to get people to come to a brand new arena they just spent billions of dollars trying to put together. And now we got something like this, where a player that plays for the Raiders has killed a citizen, being reckless and stupid, and all of that goes with that. That's not what the Raiders need. They do not need people thinking about this and not going to the arena, thinking about this and not purchasing Raider paraphernalia. And that's exactly what happens. This literally can happen when a team is new, and something like this, so high profile, and something like this, it can just make some people say, nah, I don't have nothing to do with the Raiders. They're a menace to our city. They're, these NFL players, all they do is get in their cars and, put us at risk. Like, I know that's an extreme thought, but this is what the corporation that is the NFL and the business that is the Raiders are trying to guard against. So there's no surprise for me in regards to them releasing him right away. I thought that was the only way to go. And mind you this, they got the Gruden thing going on at the same time, so they're not trying to really be dealing with too much controversy at all. This is bad timing as well for this to have happened right now. So yeah, no, I'm not surprised they released that kid. I'm sure I would have released him right away as well. You know, Ruggs is a really good young player, first round pick and all that, but he ain't, you know, he ain't prime Julio Jones. You know, you ain't gonna think twice about releasing him upon circumstances like this. And I would argue they probably release Julio too if he got involved in something like this. So, but it made it much worse that it's a new team in a new city, much worse. So, yeah, man, that's what I wanted to say. My sympathy for Henry Ruggs doesn't start yet. That begins when justice begins comes through for the lady who was killed. That's when you start switching your mentality to other things, you know. But it's while we're dealing with this situation, only person we should be feeling sorry for is the people who have to live without this lady. You know what I mean? And her dog. You know what I'm saying? And she's 23 years old. She was what, a year older than Ruggs. She didn't get a chance to live. What about her feelings? What about her life? You know, while we're sitting up here worrying about Ruggs, is he gonna be all right? Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Why? Because he breathes. Because he stands before you just like I do. He'll be fine. He might be hurt after this. But he ain't dead. So no, I'm not gonna extend too much sympathy in that direction. I don't think he should be getting it. I don't think he should even want it. I think right now he should be just ready to face whatever he needs to get his redemption going. That's the only thing he needs to be thinking about. Serving justice for that lady and tending to his defense. That's it. You know, the NFL, that's you know, it's one of those situations where could he come back to the NFL? We've seen guys do stuff. In fact, we've seen guys do this, unfortunately, and come back to the NFL. So the Raiders releasing him is not him not ever getting a chance to come back to football. Vic came back to football. Like, the odds aren't great, but it's not like the door is closed on this kid as of right now. Now, that depends on the sentencing. They give him 20 years, obviously it's a wrap. But if he gets like 4 years, 5 years, he's a 20-something-year-old kid, you'll probably see him again. Not at this level, but you may see him again. So as far if the hip is all right, I don't know. But, I mean, if you don't see him for another 10 years, you ain't going to see me crying about it because, again, the lady lost her life. So, Ruggs owe her that. Period. Anyway, man, this is a sad situation. I'm sorry you guys didn't want to wake up on a bad note, but sometimes you see stuff on TV and it does prompt you to speak. And even though I made a video about this yesterday, you know, just listening to those guys talk and then listening to the man who's there who's trying to help her, the hero who's there trying to help her, seeing the sadness on his face, you know, saying how he was apologizing to her family. He tried, you know what I mean? It's like that a traumatic experience alone, his part of the situation, is another reason why Ruggs needs to go sit down. You know what I mean? Not just because of who he killed, but because of the circumstances and the trauma that the environment he created provided everybody around there. See? Many victims involved in this situation. So, that's what I got, man. My name is BDF44. Prayers out, you know? Prayers out. Peace.